Hey guys, how are you? We've got a really cool episode for you here today. Actually, we're going to be turning it into a little mini series because there's so much to cover here. I'm here with amazing fellow permaculturist Deborah Coulson, and
Hello.
hey Deborah, how are you?
Great to be here
Thank you so
with
much.
you.
And we're really looking forward to basically walk around the whole garden, hear your history, and get down to a lot of the beautiful plants we have here.
Come on, look. Welcome to the Herbivore Garden Center. Hey, don't be shy, come in. We can transform your yard to a winner. So Rise got you covered with immaculate designs. Edible landscapes will blow your mind. And Shannon will teach you how to grow. Garden tutorials that you need.
So, just as a background, Deborah's created this beautiful mandala garden, and we're basically going to walk through, have a look at all the different aspects of it, and talk a bit about all the beautiful plants that we have in here and their great medicinal values as well. There's a lot. I mean, we had Chef Dennis come here earlier picking up fresh flowers for his restaurant in, where was his restaurant?
It's here in Karen,
Just
by
down the
the
road, yeah?
roundabout. Yeah.
So, I mean, so Deborah, can you take us through what you've basically created here? This is so amazing. I mean, even before we talk about this, how did this inspiration even come up to create such a beautiful garden?
Well, it started a long time ago. We had a house up in the mountains in Brazil, where I'm from, and we had a huge property, and our gardener was the local herbalist. So he was actually doing us a favor, being our gardener, looking after our land, and all the people from around and about would go to him for medicine. So, I mean, I must have been 5 years old when I was sort of conscious of this. We always used to play down in the garden where the chickens were and the vegetables and the plants. So we're very connected to nature. We grew a huge amount of vegetables and flowers and fruit, which we lived on, all year round. When we went back into the city, into Rio, we had all the vegetables and the flowers and the fruit. So we were, it started that long ago. The gardener, Jonas, little tribute to him, he taught us. I mean, I remember one thing. There was a plant, little thing called quebra-pedras in Portuguese, which means a stone breaker. And it used to grow up between the cracks and stones. And guess what it's used for? For breaking kidney stones. And that's a medical thing.
Beautiful.
I can't remember the name in Latin, the botanical name, but it doesn't matter. It's just to show you that it goes back a long way.
No, and I can literally see basically all of that foundation, probably you may not even realize, has actually given you such a strong setting in what you're actually doing today.
Absolutely.
And having all of that knowledge, unfortunately, a lot of this knowledge is also lost out as well.
I know.
And so actually having in there, preserving in there, and I'm sure I can see a lot of examples from what you've subconsciously learned from back in the day.
Absolutely. And these exotics I'm much more familiar with, obviously, because I've been grown up with them. But I've got between 250 and 300 different species of plants here and growing. I want to do an Ayurveda bed here, and there's lots more ideas.
Nice.
I need more beds for the indigenous plants. So I'm about half indigenous and half exotic, which means a plant that's foreign to the country.
Welcome to the gardener's world. We can never ever have enough garden beds,
Absolutely.
right?
Some of you might be surprised to see dandelion, which is considered a weed in England, and people pick it out of their lawns. It's highly medicinal, very good for the blood, and therefore helps with rheumatism and arthritis. You can make a salad and put these in the top for maridadis, for pretties, and you can make pesto out of the leaves. Delicious.
So the whole plant is fully edible.
Absolutely. And in the war, they used to make coffee in the Second World War out of the roots. I don't actually like using the roots of plants if I can avoid it, because then I'm left without the plant.
And
so,
as you can see, the bees also love it as well.
this always has bees on. I've got some photographs with about 3 or 4 bees on one of these little flowers.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember going as a kid and all I used to do was this and just basically disperse all the seeds out everywhere, but not knowing what I was doing.
Well, you tell the time with these.
Yeah?
Yeah, and you can also make wishes. Well, that's wrong. It's not 4 o'clock. but it is in Kenyan time. And you make wishes. So there's a lot of folklore and tradition that goes with every plant. And that's what I'm finding that people are more interested in than the fact that milk thistle, which I think is so beautiful, is good for the liver. I'm finding people like the folklore and the stories that go with the plants. Oh, this, by the way, is St. John's wort. There's one up there. They haven't got many flowers on at the moment, which I took from Lake Rutundu on Mount Kenya, 2 of them. We've now got masses.
Wow.
And St. John's wort is an old English word for a herb and widely used in depression. And it's a fantastic plant. We've also got another one here, that yellow one there, the bigger one.
Is it the flower that's used, or?
Yes, and the leaves as well. But this is, I just want to explain a botanical garden, which is to show what's possible, what the plants are and what they do. The fact that I sometimes make things is just because I'm left with a handful of lavender, say, and I don't know what to do with it, and I can't bear to throw it away, so I'll make an ointment or
so
a
that's
tea
a whole
or something.
different part that we're actually going to get to in one
Another
of the series.
time, yeah.
And Deborah makes these really, really cool ointments. Actually, I'm meant to get a balm for my beer that was there before, which I will get today.
Absolutely.
And we will go through the whole range of medical, and the products are sourced from where we are here, which is so cool.
Yeah, everything here, by the way, is indigenous. Edwin there looks after the garden, makes insect repellent just out of plants that are growing here and out of the dreaded lantana that is invasive in this country and everybody hates so much. You can make a very good insect repellent. Just soak it in water for a week and then spray.
Amazing.
Well, people keep asking me, what inspired you to do this? Well, I was just playing. I love color and shape. I love garden design. I love plants, and it just seemed like a natural thing to do. It's not the first one I've done. It's the 3rd one I've done. This is certainly got the most plants in. The one at the museum, probably the same size. But anyway, and then I had another one over there, which I've since built a house on. And so now this one has been here for 3.5 years. And, you know, it's looking lush and happy because we've had rain for 1.5 years. This is feverfew. A lot of the names, of the old names, tell what they're for. So obviously it reduces your fever. It's very well known for migraine.
Yeah, we grow this quite a bit as well. It has, again, beautiful flowers, which, as you can see, the bees love as well.
This is brilliant. This flowers all year long. It's not a particularly nice smell, but I do have a wonderful recipe for a feverfew cake, which I'll show in another
Nice.
program, maybe.
Nice. I mean, it's really interesting when you're talking about the Mandala Gardens as well. So even when I started designing, it's just about getting down to pen to paper. You put in a few circles in and try to see the whole thing fits out. But obviously there are a few mistakes that you may have made as well. I mean, one of the main mistakes I did was I didn't take into account the size of the brick. So I was always being eaten into my footpots, and then my footpots are a bit smaller because you don't want to sacrifice the space for the actual garden bed as well.
Absolutely. I didn't realize how big it was going to be because, as you can see, we're creeping in onto my drive because I've got the central circle, which is the calm bed, the next circle, which is by diseases, and the outside one, those 2 back ones are indigenous. This is the daisy, that's the mint family. And I have the first circle, the first quarter of the outside circle. The next one can go there, fine. Here will be the next one, and there will be the next, but we're creeping into the drive. So that's why I've got so much growing on the drive. So the next bed will be here with grass behind it so people can see it from both sides. So yes, that was
nice.
Not calculated very well.
I mean, the beautiful thing about a garden is that it's always, you never stop designing. Especially if it's your own garden, you're always going to be adding on more things and just making it bigger and beautiful. So,
well, I've been to a lot of gardens in England that are not designed. You just wander through. Very natural, very beautiful, but not everybody has this sort of mania for designing. Mandala Vatika, they call it in India, and apparently it's an age-old tradition. I thought I was the only one doing this until I met you. And now suddenly there are other people doing it. It's really exciting.
Amazing. So what I'd mention is, when I mention about design, I didn't mean maybe just, you know, actual penciling down. Any creation, I feel, comes to from a design. Even if the design is something you visioned in your head or it goes along, there is that some sort of a background. Or do you think that you can just, some people just go ahead and just plant things and...
I think people go ahead and plant things. I think other people design geometrically, like an architect might, or a landscape architect. But I don't know how many people do this sacred design, the Mandala Vatika, the sacred geometry, the meaning behind it all. They have meanings. Circles are feminine. Squares are masculine. Squared circle is balance. The triangle is dynamic, is fire. And I've done this in concentric circles, which means wholeness. And I have this nice analogy of a drop of water on a pond of rain, and it, you know, will make concentric circles. And if it's raining, then you see they're all touching each other, and it shows how connected we are to everything in the universe and how connected everything else is. And that is really important.
Sure.
This, by the way, I was given because it attracts bees and butterflies. So I thought, great. And so I thought, let me just look it up. And this is called Salvia nilotica, as in Salvia, the sage family, nilotica from the Nile. And it is antimicrobial, antifungal, antibiotic, anti-everything, and fights free radicals. So every little weed, or seeming like weed, is a whole host of stories, traditions, mythology, and healing,
Amazing.
as well as beauty.
So I plant salvia for the bees. That's why I plant them. The bees absolutely love them. They bring a great burst of color.
This is the indigenous hibiscus.
I was just looking
which
at
I've
that
got
on
a
that
whole
side.
hedge of it growing
And it's got
along.
such a beautiful flower to it.
Well, you can, and we can show that another time too. You boil the twigs and the leaves and make a wonderful tea, the color of this dark maroon,
Wow.
which you can drink plain or add honey to it, or then put it in the fridge and drink it as a cold drink the next day. It's delicious
Amazing.
and highly medicinal.
So
Now
when
we're into the indigenous ones. Can I just go back?
Sure.
This you will see growing on roadsides everywhere, okay? And, you know, it's sort of considered a bit of a rubbish plant. And I found the other day, I was doing an online herbalism course in England, they call this a miracle plant, Kalanchoe pinnata. And it's because it's got so many different healing properties.
That's amazing. And where did you find that?
Well, I learnt about it, so then I asked my herbalist friend, and he supplied it.
Nice.
Yeah,
so it's
aloes.
really crucial that you were talking. Oh my God, look at the beautiful flowers on those.
Aren't they wonderful?
Yeah. So when you're talking about garden design and the sacred geometry, you know, there's a lot of things that conventional garden landscapers don't take into account. And it's very crucial that what you've done here is a perfect example of working with nature rather than working against Mother Nature. If we look at our typical gardens, we have a lawn, we have manicured, monoculture planted everywhere. They're designed for failure. So as much as someone is trying to put design in there, I mean, when I say design for failure, they need inputs from chemicals, fertilizers, just to keep them going. This here is designed with Mother Nature in mind. You know, we have all the bees, we have all the pollinators, we have all the mulch creating all the continuous fertility. What a beautiful design!
I know,
and this is the key of permaculture, right? Working with Mother Nature to get all of this beauty into place. So all you have to do is do a bit of occasional pruning, occasional trimming, and this pruning and actually gives us value as well, right? When you go and prune your herbs, you've got a harvest. It's not something that you have to call a dump truck to come in, pull out from your garden at all. So I'm so happy to see this.
All be used, and we make compost, our own compost, which is the only fertilizer we use. Everything here is completely organic, and as I said, the insect repellent is organic. Oh, this is ashwagandha, which has been used in Indian medicine, Ayurveda, for 5,000 years, And somewhere along the way, it must have floated across on a bird or a boat or something. And because it's now naturalized here, so when I was staying with a friend up country in Laikipia, it's growing everywhere. And it's an adaptogen, which means it adapts to what your body needs. So if you're super stressed out, it'll bring you down. And if you're depressed, it'll level you out. And this is the fashionable plant of the moment.
No, and as you said, I've heard about this and they've used this in Indian traditions for a very long time. I didn't actually know how strong the benefits were. And look at how beautiful it grows.
Yeah, I've got a tincture I make from it, and even just the leaves for the skin. It's all sorts of wonderful skin qualities. So here we're still in the indigenous.
Nice. I feel like I'm walking through a whole enchanted forest
here. Careful, it's rather spiky. As you can imagine, the indigenous plants are much more prolific and abundant than the exotic ones. We're cutting all the time.
I mean, this is the actual environment in which they thrive in, right?
Yeah, they're home, they're happy. I think it's kind of crowded. This is mint, which indigenous, which I got from the Lewa River up in Laikipia.
Wow. How does it taste?
It's nice. We've got quite a lot of mint, but this is more exciting because it's new. It's pretty. Look at these fluffy things. This is not supposed to be there. Mint is very invasive and very good for the stomach. It's good to make a tea
is this as invasive as all the other mints as well?
Yeah,
check out this beautiful flower, this native mint.
And it's very good for digestion. It's good to make a tea.
I love mint.
After dinner. Now this one, that's a pity that they haven't made a camera yet that can smell, is a Plectranthus. There's quite a lot of useful Plectranthus family. There isn't a local name for it. Squish it and smell it, crush it. It's lovely lemony smell. Very good for the skin.
And you can't even get the smell if you don't crush it.
And Dennis from Embark Restaurant, who just came around now, was taking some to make into for a salad.
So is this your natural insect repellent? Is this part of it?
This is, I have, yes, I have. I've just made it.
Because I mean, even if I just rub this on myself, I can...
Yeah, but I'm not going to guarantee...
There's no reaction.
That you're not going to get... No, there's no reaction, that you won't get malaria. This plant here is Kamelina. I give all my plants nicknames until I get to know them. I'm trying to find here. If you squeeze this little thing, water will come out, and this is fantastic for eye problems. Any eye problems, you squeeze them in. You see the liquid coming out.
Amazing.
They all have their uses. Here's the St. John's wort, that one of the small flowers that I took from Lake Rotunda. By the way, I only ever take 2 plants when I'm picking in the bush. So that's sustainable harvesting.
No, and thank you for mentioning that, because, you know, a lot of people go out there into the bush, rip out plants.
I know, it's terrible.
A lot of landscapers are going out in the bush and ripping up forest soil, which is, you know, you're depleting what has taken over 100 years in nature to make as well. So it's really good you mentioned that.
No,
and also
really
the way
important.
of, there's a sustainable way to do it as well.
The mother and the father, so to speak. In Rotunda, where I got them, they grow to about this high, because it's high and there's no rain up there. I cut these ones. Some of them at the back there. The first ones we walked past, I didn't prune. These ones I did. Look how fat and fluffy they are.
They're amazing. They're amazing.
This
is when we talk about the amount of plants we have here, you've actually put over 250.
Yeah, it's probably nearer 300. I haven't written them all down.
Was it all designed in terms of which plants? I know you've got your different areas of beds, but in terms of the actual plants, have you used any companion strategies to plant any plant next to each other?
I haven't.
And everything is working in abundance.
Everything is happy. That we don't have insects. We have bees, but we don't have any plant. I mean, we have a few, but I figure there's enough for everybody. If they want to eat my leaves, they can. No, there isn't a strategy with the planting. There's a very strong strategy with my design. But the planting, it was as they arrived, as I got the plants. So that's why there's a little bit of chaos, but I don't mind because I think it looks pretty. I like the abundance and the lushness and the richness of this all. I don't want it to be boxy like a traditional botanical, more sort of scientific garden. This is
No, I think-
Forestia, that Maasai use it for making marks. You know, it has a sort of reddish dye in it. And the
nice.
Picot use it for making, for smoking. It's calming, and it's one of its properties.
You see, one thing that you mentioned earlier is that you don't really have a pest problem, and that is just purely because of the beautiful abundance of polyculture that you have set about here.
Yeah.
With all these natural native flowers that are around here, you're attracting so many beneficial insects who are actually going to come in and keep the whole ecological balance
Keep the
into
system
place.
moving.
I mean, this, if you could just have a look at this is a beautiful example of leaving some water in there for the bees, but at the same time not keeping it too deep so the bees would drown. So here the bees actually have a chance
need the water.
to come
It's
and
so
escape
hot at
out.
the moment.
Exactly, but a lot of people leave a big dish. Unfortunately, that lets the bees drown in the middle.
Yeah, no,
so this allows the bees to actually come out as well. And I don't
that's
think they would actually leave from here. Look at that chameleon. I'm so sorry, but he's just there eating up all the.
Well,
he was eating up a pest
I
right
hate
here.
them.
No, they're good.
I know
They're
they're
really
good,
good
but
for
I
the
don't want to
market.
touch it. Don't you pick him?
I'm not picking, but can you see him?
I
He's
can't.
fully camouflaged right
God.
there.
Oh, awful.
It's a beautiful chameleon camouflaging itself in the garden. Hey there, how you doing? And I just saw him actually pick out a pest with his tongue. This is nature's pest control happening right here, guys. You really want to go out and spray all those dangerous chemicals when you have all these beautiful guys doing all the work for you?
I know, it's just a circle of life, isn't it?
Amazing.
Everything.
Amazing. And the beauty of that camouflage, I love it. Wow. See, things like this are getting me really excited. You don't like them too much?
No, I'm terrified of them. I'm a good African. This is Plectranthus cyaneus, which they use for deodorant,
Yeah.
which I haven't made,
So it's a natural based deodorant.
apparently. I mean, it's not very difficult to make these things. It's not very difficult to make them, but my focus is on the garden and showing people, and more than making stuff. It's fun making. But then when you're making things, you're indoors with your head bent. Whereas when you're in a garden, you're outside in the sun.
Exactly.
And I was telling you about this before. This is a Piper capense, as in Cape Town. And in Hawaii, they've got a Piper something else, which they use for ceremonies, kava
It's really
ceremonies.
sacred.
Yeah, and then I was telling this to my botanist friend, and he said, oh, we use that as well for ceremonies. Now you're talking about the other side of the planet, same plant, same use.
What a beautiful heart-shaped leaf.
I know, what I must do one of these days is make a whole garden just with heart-shaped leaves. There's a lot
Amazing.
of
I've got a
heart-shaped
really
leaves.
cool one
Careful,
called
these-
beetle nut leaf.
Beetle nut. Oh,
Yeah,
that's what the Indians
leaf.
chew.
Exactly. It's pollen and then it's the actual outer leaf of that. So it's got a lot of medicinal qualities as well.
This grew up, this avocado, in the compost, and I keep meaning to pull it out, and I don't quite have the heart. But I'm going to have to soon. Because
You
it's
will,
gonna
otherwise
make
you
too
won't
much
be able
shade.
to transplant it properly.
I know. Oh, by the way, Artemisia annua, which I didn't show you over there, but I will, is being used for COVID. Well, it is always used for malaria. If you get malaria and you buy Coartem, it's got Artemisia in it. And they're using it for COVID as well. And they're now doing a lot of experiments
this one
on
here?
the Artemisia afra, which is our local one, which is very good as well. So that's nice, because I like it when the indigenous plants.
This is
This
Citronella,
is-
right?
No, this is geranium. Have a squish. Crush it. It's heaven. I
Yes,
put
it
this in.
is.
I put these. Sometimes I just go and gather things, and put them in my bath, and that's one of the
got a really
favorites.
nice
I mean,
smell
you
to
can
it.
buy essential oils as well, but it's
Yeah.
quite nice just to, because that's such a strong smell. And
So-
there you've got knit bone, comfrey, as it's properly known as, that one with the big leaves. And in the old days, when they didn't have plaster casts, they would make a poultice out of it and squeeze a bit of juice on, and it will set your burns. So you have to make sure it's in the right pace.
I
So
mean,
that's-
up to today, we can still make a comfrey tea, and if you get a cut and you just put it on top, you'll actually heal the wound in one day.
I need to make
And
some
we
comfrey
also
ointment.
use comfrey very strongly as a companion plant to any of your young fruit trees, because what comfrey does is it's got very deep tap roots
Yeah.
that go down and tap in all the minerals and mine it all the way back up to the leaf, which is why the leaf is very high in all macro and micronutrients.
Green manure, right?
Yes, so you can make a really good comfrey tea from it to use in the garden. We use it as a chop and drop mulch
Yeah.
for young fruit trees. Every time I plant a young avocado, I'll have 3 or 4 comfrey trees around it, which will work as a living mulch. Secondly, when it gets that big, just before the rains, chop it down, just drop it on top, and that will actually feed the plant moving on forward as well.
Wonderful. Thank you
but
for
it's
that.
also one thing that you have to be careful of is some people find it very invasive. A tiny bit of root can actually root out, pop
the
out.
plants all here have their own houses, so to speak, so nothing can
yes.
creep into the other house. This one, you see, needs to be cut because it is growing. As you said, it's quite
Yeah.
invasive. So the leaves will be pulled out so that everything stays within its, you know, its
And
house.
I can see you've got some nice chilies and tomatoes there, which we'll go into in a while.
Yep.
But comfrey will make an amazing chop, and you can just drop it around there and
Great.
provide them all of the nutrients. Obviously, chilies and tomatoes are a bit more heavy on feeding compared to some of the other plants that we have
Okay,
here.
great. That's nice to know. And here we got lavender, and there's more lavender in there. And
I
that lavender is good for
love
everything.
lavender.
It's the most popular of all the ointments that I make, or balms. It's probably the most popular smell that I'm aware of.
Yeah. Guys, I just want you to have a look. Can you just come with me?
Sure.
Just want you to have a look at this. And a lot of people don't know where the actual lavender bud is, right? But the lavender buds are actually right here in the middle. And this is now when you really wish the camera had a smell of sense, right? This is where all the essence is. Amazing.
That there, with the red flowers, is pineapple sage. And it smells like tinned pineapple. It really makes
amazing.
people laugh. And people use it. Who was it who came the other day? Someone came the other day and uses it for their cocktails.
Yeah, that was me who
It
told
was you.
For gin and tonics.
There you
they
go.
really, because it's edible flower, so you can use it to
Yeah.
garnish a lot of your salads
And
and,
the bees.
gin. And, yeah, bees
bees
love it
love
as
it.
well. I mean, let's be honest, everything that you have in this first circle around you and everything inside, all I can see is a bee moving from one to another. This is
Nice,
like
huh?
a
Do you know that-
7-star buffet for bees.
Do you know that Deborah means bee in Hebrew? My name. There you go.
Amazing.
I just want to show you something that we walked past in your excitement with the lavender is thyme, which has the most wonderful smell, and it is the most used plant apparently for the chest, which is particularly relevant at the moment with COVID and everybody with their chest problems. And that we use a lot in cooking, so it smells more like food to me than
Amazing.
medicine. And here is lemon verbena, which is
Yeah.
just
And you've got
divine.
lemon thyme here as well, right?
Yeah, that grows so much better. And lemon balm. I make a really nice tea out of lemon balm, lemon verbena, and lemon grass.
Oh
So
my
you
God,
have
that's
the 3
heavenly.
lemons, and you put them in a teapot, lots, and fill it up with water. Leave it for a couple of minutes, and then drink it. It's a really nice after dinner drink because they all calm you down,
Sure.
and they're digesting.
So
And
lemon.
this is good for the brain too.
Yeah. So I was just going to say, lemon balm has much more of a calming effect
Yeah.
than verbena.
But verbena, if you will have a look, is also calming,
Yeah,
and so is lemongrass.
amazing. And I love the whole mixtures of all different types of lemon herbs in your tea. It just makes such a beautiful tea.
And here is Tulsi, which is very precious to the Indians. And you've got different types of Tulsis for the different gods. You've got Rama, you've got Krishna, and you've got various other ones. There is sage, which is very good for the brain, for sweating, for women's problems, and sage, as in because sage means wise. So that's why it's known for the brain.
Nice. Thank you guys for watching the video on Deborah Coulson's amazing Nairobi Physics Garden. If you guys enjoyed the video, Please hit the like button and also subscribe to her channel, as we'll be having many more updates on her garden. See you next time.